I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a paid request for Anthony. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting, or you want to donate to the channel, help out the channel, or just send in a paid request, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is an interesting one in the fact that it's a topic, not a movie review or anything. And the topic was to talk about WCW. Now, WCW, I will say I did not grow up with. I knew they were around for a while. Growing up with wrestling, I knew more about the WWF, which then they had to change it to WWE because the World Wildlife Foundation got mad, and they told them, you have to change it. So then WWF went to WWE, and I think that's changed back again, that you can say WWF, but not for certain. But I watched more of that growing up on videotapes. And then the Attitude Era on TNT was WCW. I'm trying to remember what WWF was on. Was it USA? It was the Monday Night Wars, and you would go back because you had one side was Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Mankind, aka Mick Foley, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. And on the flip side, you had Goldberg, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. You had Steen, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage. And the Monday Night Wars were a fun experience. Just, you had these two trying to rock it every week, push it to the limit, so to speak. So WCW I didn't see until then. I've seen some stuff now in recent years of going back in time to view things. And I definitely heard a lot about it from Jim Cornette. This is a guy I watch on YouTube. He has a podcast. He uploads parts on his YouTube channel. I definitely learned a lot from him and the history of WCW. I also think he's very funny guy. You may not agree with all of his stuff, but he's very passionate about wrestling, just like I'm passionate about movies, so I can feel the passion. And back in the day, you had the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and you had Midnight Express. You had like Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair. Steve Austin was in WCW. Had hair, he was called Stunning Steve Austin, and he wrestled people like Ricky Steamboat. I think you can even on YouTube, he wrestled a bit with Macho Man Randy Savage, among others. And it was interesting to see his different persona, like when he was teamed up with Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman was a wrestler who, yeah, this little voice here like this, because of he always had issues with his throat. To the point, I think his throat, they always had to do surgery on his throat. But then, pretty much, Steve Austin got hurt. He got fired. Eric Bischoff fired him over the phone. Didn't even fire him man-to-man. And so then Steve Austin went to ECW for a bit. Did some pretty fun promos. You could probably find him on YouTube. He wasn't there too long, and then went to WWF. They didn't know what to do with him, so they called him the Ringmaster. And then he's like, no, let me do my own thing. And then became Stone Cold Steve Austin. One of the most popular wrestlers ever. But going back to WCW, like I said, it's interesting to hear about the history of certain things. And like I said, Jim Cornette and others are definitely a wealth of information. For example, you have this Jim Crockett promotion. Things were not going well. Certain things happened. And this one guy named Jim Herd got WCW. And Jim Herd, what he was known for was being a manager, operator of Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut. So, yeah, this guy worked on Pizza Hut. He's going to manage wrestling. And he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Because you had shit like, I want a tag team called the Hunchbacks. What's the gimmick? Well, they can't be pinned because they have a hump. And since they have a hump, both shoulders can't touch the mats. So they have a hump and the Hunchbacks. Unbeatable team. It's like, okay. Well, number one is pretty stupid. Number two is pretty fucking stupid. Number three... well, I know a way to beat the team. I throw them out. They get counted out. Boom, you beat the unbeatable team. Or find a way to disqualification. Boom, beat the unbeatable team. Just the whole gimmick was stupid. There's another he had called the Ding Dons. What the Ding Dons were these two guys, fucking skin-tight suits, masked. They had bells on them. A bunch of little fucking bells. So on their walk to the ring, they had all these bells. Ding, 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 ding. And they walked in. And something to do with the bell, like if you ring it, then you tag. It's like the bells just start falling, and people start slipping on the fucking bells. And people are like, what is this shit? So it's just stuff like that. Horrible fucking gimmicks. Kevin Nash was in WCW, and they gave him gimmicks like Oz. As in Oz from Wizard of Oz. Dressed up in fucking green. Type in Kevin Nash and Oz, O-Z. Just horrible shit. And you had stuff like Sting. You know, Sting, good wrestler at the time. He's like the California guy. Woo! You know, doing the personality for the kids. You had the villains like Vader. May he rest in peace. It's time. It's Vader time. Good heel. Good monster heel. With the mask, the body, stuff he was able to do for his size. And then you had some crazy shit, man. A RoboCop, yes, because RoboCop 2 was coming out. So WCW thought, hey, for RoboCop, for this pay-per-view, let's make a deal with the guys who are releasing RoboCop 2. So we have people in this fake cage, and RoboCop, which it wasn't Peter Weller, of course. They got someone else to play the character. So because the suit is so... this much in mobility. Zip, zilch, fucking nada. He could barely move. He could barely move and turn. So it just... he could barely reach. He could barely do anything. And there's like one thing. It took him forever to get to the ring. And people are like, what the fuck is this? And we're in the realm of sci-fi. I know, wrestling, you shouldn't take it seriously. But at the same time, how can you buy this match of one being the other and try to get invested, and then you have something sci-fi like fucking RoboCop? Or, let alone the shit they do today. Like the Demon and having these cinematic matches where they pull people in swamps and fucking blood comes out like it's Friday the 13th. And like, but next month he's A-OK. This is stupid. Also, like, there were little movies they would make with Steen and others. Like, oh, there's a boat and jump and the boat explodes. Like, do these like little mini movies. I did in preparation for pay-per-views, and this is you look through it, it's like, this is a bad time for technically you say it was a bad time for WWF around that 95 era. But even then, I gotta go with WWF because at least with WWF you had Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels, he might have been a dickhead, and he is a dickhead, piece of shit, but he was a good wrestler. Loved Bret the Hitman Hart. Razor Ramon, as limited as Kevin Nash could do, just, you know, he had that persona and look. 1-2-3 Kid, aka Sean Waltman, I didn't mind him, very agile. At least he has stuff like that. I'm on the cartoonish stuff, like the Goon, who's a hockey player who's a wrestler, or was it the Barbarian? The Berserker. The Berserker was a guy in WWF that always had his hand like this, had a fucking sword. At one point tried to stab the Undertaker with a sword. And like his big move is to throw people out of the ring and win by count out. That was Berserker. You had Repo Man, a guy that he acted like a weasel and tried to steal shit. Like, he stole Macho Man Randy Savage's hat. He stole his hat. And Macho Man needs to fight him to get his hat back. Just, yeah. What a great deal for a fight to get a hat back. Mantar, literally a guy with a bison buffalo fucking head. It is a bad time in wrestling. Although that's still better than the shit of today, I gotta say. But get back to WCW. For a while, you had tapings in Atlanta. At one point, like Disney MGM Studios in Orlando, Florida. Because when Hulk Hogan, he left, but they kind of forced him out, like kind of both from WWF. And then he thought, well, maybe I'll do a movie career. The movies were not making money. I'll do a TV show, Thunder in Paradise. I don't know if that did well or not. Didn't seem like it was doing that well. I think Hulk Hogan knew. So Eric Bischoff and others said, hey, Hulk Hogan, why don't you work for us? And he did. And you could tell Hulk Hogan was... Let's put it this way. Throughout the 90s, there was this steroid trial. Very apparent in the papers. In the early days of 90s WWF. Now you tell how some people got a lot slimmer after that, including Hulk Hogan, where he was not as Incredible Hulk physique style. I'll put it that way. And Hulk, people forget, Hulk Hogan in WCW, early days, he was not successful. It may seem like that in the crowds and the first couple pay-per-views, but he was not successful. Because right out of the gate, the first pay-per-view, and they had, WCW at least had some fun venues, like Bash at the Beach, so it was a wrestling ring near a beach. So at least, again, they had some different venues, and at least, especially during the Monday Night Wars, at least the look of it felt different than WWF. Like, both had their different look. Like, WCW had the Nitro girls dancing, and then the arena looked different. At least there was that, so it didn't feel like a carbon copy of WWF. But before that, Hulk Hogan, the first time he's in WCW pay-per-view, he beats Ric Flair. And I think he got the title. And now you're going, he already beat Ric Flair, like the most popular guy in WCW. Right out of the gate. What are you going to do now? Oh, he beats Vader, and it's the punches, it's the laid drop. People have seen it before. It gets tired very, very quickly, and people were like, okay, he's going to get beaten up, punch, lift his leg up, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. Before that, oh, it's either, oh, he's ready to go to sleep. And that's an attraction that's fun. It's a gimmick that's fun. When you start seeing it over and over and over and over again, you just get bored with it. It's more special attraction, but when you have the same type of typical match over and over, it gets old quick. I think they knew that. And this is the days where he fought the Giant, and okay, like there's this Halloween Havoc. I can't even explain this. Where a fucking mummy, yes, a mummy. He's like ready to fuck Hulk Hogan. This might have been the time with Hulk Hogan didn't have a mustache. Because there's a point that he didn't have the mustache. But there's a point like a mummy's like looking like he's fucking Hulk Hogan. It's like, what is going on? Or he fought the Giant. The Giant was supposed to be the son of Andre the Giant, and he wants revenge. But really, it was this guy named Paul Wright. He would later be the Big Show in WWF, WWE, the Big Show. But before that, he was the son of the Giant, Andre the Giant. So he's the Giant, and beats Hogan, choke slam, and then he was doing some crazy stuff that big people don't usually do, like drop kicks and getting on the second or third buckle. I was like, well, you're pretty big. You shouldn't have to do stuff like that. But it was interesting to see. But then you had, I shit you not, there's a moment where a pay-per-view that they fight each other with monster trucks. They're each in a monster truck, and Hulk Hogan truck that looks like Hulk Hogan with like a bandana or something, and they're like battling each other with monster trucks, and you're going, this ain't. If this was a movie like Roadhouse, okay, but this is not that, man. And they can't do much because it's done for real, live. So it's like, in a movie, you have stuff you can bash each other. Obviously, that's not going to happen in real life. Or there's a point where the Giant fell off the bridge, but then 20 minutes later, he made it back, and he was not even wet. But he made it back to the arena to defeat Hulk Hogan. It was like, again, there's a lot of bad years of WCW, but WCW had a lot of good stuff. And that's one thing with WWF, WWE, that I don't agree with. Because they're butthurt that when there's a point where WCW was beating them in the ratings, which has never happened before or since with WWF. I think to this day, Vince McMahon is still pissed off because he still brings it up. Monday Night War has ended for years, decades now, and Vince McMahon, the owner of WWF, is still pissed off about it for some fucking reason. He is. He's still pissed off about it. And WCW had good stuff, especially when the Monday Night War happened, and there's interesting stuff going on. What? Lex Luger? He was over there, now he's over here. And that's when there's a point where WCW was in the Mall of America in Minnesota. The Mall of America. Which people make fun of. I think that's an interesting venue. It makes it unique. To be in the Mall of America, and again, just made it a unique venue. At least to me. Made it different. I actually didn't hate that like a lot of people did. And then you had Scott Hall, a.k.a. Razor Ramon, and Kevin Nash. They went there. And they're the outsiders. Who are these guys? You know who we are, but you don't know why we're here. And people are like, what the fuck's going on? And people didn't know if this was real or not. Are they really trying to break up WCW? Oh, and their third guy is Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan's a bad guy? Wow, we haven't seen Hulk Hogan as a bad guy since the days of Rocky 3, Thunder Lips, you know? A long time. So it was a very different persona for Hulk Hogan, and the NWO, the New World Order, the cool black and white, the cool outfits, ding, 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 the fake commercials, the NWO, this is an announcement for the New World Order, and the way the commercial, their advertising is edited, and it was unique, it was different, it was like, what's going on, and I haven't seen this before, and this seems very, like, you don't know what's going to happen next, and but then, also, you did know what was going to happen. That was the mistake. But at this point, it's like, what's going on? They're just beating up everybody, and they're taking over, and they'll have like a war within the company. It's like, what's going on? And then they started winning the ratings. And also, you had the people that were very physically agile in wrestling. Dean Malenko. Yes, Chris Benoit. As a person. But as a wrestler, he was a talented wrestler. Admit that. Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio Jr. So you had those well-done matches, the luchadors. So you had these great displays of physicality and agility. And then you had the stars. You had the old WWF stars like Macho Man Randy Savage. And then Roddy Piper came in. Hulk Hogan. You get to see the last hurrah. That's the way I put it. The last hurrah. And then you had new guys. You had Goldberg with the streak. Who's next? You had Booker T as part of the team Harlem Heat. You had Diamond Dallas Page. The Diamond Cutter. You had Sting. Not so much the California dude, but now he's looking like the Crow, and he's silent. He's got baseball bags in the rafters, the ceilings, and the ceiling, the rafters, and which side is he on? He would get the cord and rappel down, and whose side is he on? And they had a lot of stuff interesting going on all together at the same time. That combination of new stars, old stars last hurrah, this weird like story that we haven't seen before, the presentation, and then being different from WWF. Again, the way the arena looked, the way they felt like, compared to the time with WWF cartoon, we don't want to be cartoon. We want to be more edgy. We want to be more serious and more violent. And again, like you had DDP, Booker T, a different version of Sting. That was very interesting to see. Very interesting to see. Wow, like Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. Oh, I get to see these new guys. It's not talking down to me, at least at this moment. It's not ridiculous cartoonish stuff. Like the gobbledygooker and shit that was going on in WWF. But then WWF changed. They got more of an attitude. But then the difference is WWF was consistent. It kept at it. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. You had, I said, Mankind. You had people like when Chris Jericho went there. Because he was in WCW, then he went there. And then more people got tired of WCW because many problems happened with WCW. For example, a lot of the big stars had free reign on their contract. They could do pretty much all that they wanted. If they go, I don't want to lose today, they could. I don't want to lose today. Oh, you know what? I don't want to wrestle today. They could. And they had these big contracts. So then, now I want to spend more time drinking. I want to spend time getting drugs into my veins or popping pills, like what happened with Scott Hall. And they wanted to stay on top for the most part. They wanted to stay on top. And the new guys said, well, wait a minute. We have these new guys. Let's prop them up. Because who knows how long you guys are going to be up top. You guys, your body's breaking down. You can't last forever. But it was, the NWO thing was cool. And they didn't evolve it. They tried with the NWO. Then you had like the red and black NWO. The Wolf Pack. But it wasn't the same. Like, it wasn't as much of an evolution. And so the younger folks that could maybe bring more vitality to it, they're like, I'm tired of getting beaten up. I'm tired of losing. Just let me be the NWO. And then when everybody was NWO, it's like, well, what the fuck? Everybody's NWO, so what's the point? Virgil. We got fucking Virgil as the NWO? Fucking Virgil? If you don't know who Virgil is, look up Virgil. Virgil. WCW. What, fucking Virgil? Which he wasn't looked at was prominence in WWF. Although nowadays. Fucking Virgil was in the NWO. So it was not evolving NWO, not letting the new people, like you had Goldberg, you had DDP, but you need to do more with that. And you need to do more with them. Wasn't the case. Then they started making a lot of mistakes. Ultimate Warrior came in the WCW to fight Hulk Hogan. That was a fucking catastrophe. Some of the worst fucking matches you will see. And I liked Ultimate Warrior for what he was as a wrestler. As limited as he was as a wrestler, I liked him in WWF. It was a fucking catastrophe. Because it was like they had the matches, they stunt, there were mess-ups, mistakes. Then another mistake. They opened up WCW Thunder, a second show. They did not have the time, the ability, the structure, and the manpower and wrestlers to split that up into two shows. And I think WCW Thunder bled them dry. No one nowadays talks about, I loved watching WCW Thunder. In fact, I bet most people don't even remember what the fuck WCW Thunder was. Name 4, 5, or 3, or 1 important moment on WCW Thunder. Although, I'll be honest, I wish I could get like a full, I don't know how. Well, I'm not getting the WWE Network. I'm sorry, I'm not giving them my money. But if there's like some DVD-R thing, as like, here's episodes of Thunder, I'd love to give it a watch, or even Nitro. I would love to rewatch that stuff. I really would. But I'm not getting WWE Network because I don't like them nowadays. I don't want to give them my money. I'm sorry. Plus, with the way my internet is, it'd be pointless anyway because it's satellite internet. I'd rather have like DVD-Rs of it. But anyway. With that said. Who the fuck, WCW Thunder, that hurt. And then other mistakes. Where you get Bret Hart. Bret Hart at this point had the Montreal Screwjob in WWF. He's let go, quit goodbye. Everyone's talking about Bret Hart. You bring Bret Hart in, you do absolutely nothing with him. Nothing. You just put him away. More than likely because Hulk Hogan and other guys will go, no, I don't want this guy to be better than me. I don't want this guy to get upshot over me and to get higher up the totem pole than me. Yeah, just put him to the side. Let it die out, and it did. And then lost a shitload of money. Because at the time, you should have had Bret Hart. Holy shit, Bret Hart now versus Hulk Hogan. Bret Hart beats Hulk Hogan. Oh shit, what's going to happen next? would have been big. But Hulk Hogan, don't work for me, brother. Don't work for me, brother. Yeah, not much work for you, brother. Except your Gawker's lawsuit. Nothing else work for you, brother. And you had weird stuff like Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone and Jay Leno get into actual wrestling matches. Vince Russo, who was working with WWF, he went to WCW. And then the writing went even... That's the era I would also love to rewatch. Just to see how crazy it got. Because then you had the thing where David Arquette was making a movie Ready to Rumble, which I liked, I will admit. And it's not David Arquette's fault. He was told to promote the film. He went in, said hi. Vince Russo and these guys said... And Vince Russo and such, hey, we don't give you the belt. And David Arquette goes, what? No, that's not the right thing. Oh no, believe me, people will talk about it. Yeah, they did in the negative note, and they said the worst things possible. And so when David Arquette won, which technically he won by accident, but it's like, oh, he's a champion, what an insult. Although, granted, WWF should not have room to talk. There's just fucking people that won that you go, what the fuck? I'm sorry, Vince McMahon won a Royal Rumble. He won a Royal Rumble. And Stephanie McMahon won a championship. I mean, I don't consider these guys... Oh, but they're in the business. But no, I don't consider them wrestlers. Just I don't consider David Arquette a wrestler. Oh, but they're an outsider. Okay. Well, the football player, Lawrence Taylor, beat Bam Bam Bigelow at the end of your big WrestleMania. Remember that year? But he didn't win the belt. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're right. I think there's a lot of things, like, they want to talk about how WCW did all this stupid stuff. Believe me, WWF has done a lot of stupid shit. In fact, they've done more stupid shit nowadays than even WCW did back then. Like having a fucking match where, oh, we're going to take someone's eye out. Yes, that was not recent, but maybe a year or two ago. Whoever takes the other guy's eyeball out wins. That's in WWE nowadays. You had a fucking bunny. I remember years ago you had a bunny on the roster. Literally a rabbit on the fucking roster. I'm not talking about Bad Bunny, the rapper. I'm talking about years ago there was an actual guy in a bunny suit on the roster of WWE just a few years ago. A bunny rabbit. Don't believe me, look it up. Bunny Rabbit WWE. You find a guy in a bunny suit. Or a guy named Rosebud. Or Adam Rose. And his rosebuds. Which means assholes. Like the little asshole. Adam Rose. Because that's Vince McMahon's humor. Hey, here's these guys and they love pancakes. Kofi Kingston and all this stuff. Don't get me started on that. And so when Vince Russo was writing it, it's just he had these stupid matches. Pinata on a pole. Viagra on a pole. Buff Bagwell's mom is on a forklift. Yes, at WCW there's a match where Buff Bagwell, a wrestler, wrestled a guy while Buff Bagwell's mom is tied to a fucking forklift. This is the shit that hurt. But what killed it technically was Time Warner, AOL, there's a merger. Ted Turner, who is the guy behind keeping WCW on the air, he did not have as much power at this point. WCW was on TNT, Turner Network. Well, this executive, I believe it was Jamie Kellner, but after this Time Warner AOL merger, they said, we want to be more higher up. We want to be more upscale. TNT, TBS. We don't want this wrestling. Which is funny because nowadays they have wrestling with AEW. So I guess times have changed. But at the time, like, no, we want to be upper, more upscale shows. No more wrestling. And without a TV deal, WCW was dead. The man stole it. They stole it. He stole it in a deal. A quick, fast, cheap deal. Bought it for peanuts. For pennies. And now they own WCW. And then they tried to do this invasion where they bring in WCW stars, but the biggest problem they had was they didn't have much of the WCW stars. Because the big ones like Goldberg and Steen, they had contracts that they just sit at home and get paid. And they had to be fulfilled. Because the depths had to be fulfilled. And if you break the contract, you have a right to sue. So it's like, I'm not going to fucking work for you. I can sit on my ass and get paid and relax, take a big vacation. Who wouldn't do that? So then they had really nobody to do it. And then they did stupid shit like Diamond Dallas Page being a stalker to Undertaker's girlfriend or whoever the fuck. A lot of bad, stupid decisions. But WCW, I wish they had like, they don't do this because it's not a TV show, but like season sets. Especially like the 90s or the Attitude Era, the last days, But they didn't do that. Well, I would say the best parts I would say is the Monday Night War stuff. When you had it on all cylinders, you had people like Booker T and Harlem Heat and tag teams like that. You had Goldberg on doing the streak. You had the NWO. And you had people like Roddy Piper fighting NWO and fighting Hulk Hogan, and the rambunctious crowd, like every fucking night they would throw shit into the ring. Fuck this, Like, it was cool to see Roddy Piper in that, and I'm a big fan of Diamond Dallas Page. It was cool to see that stuff. Like when you thought he was going to go to NWO, like, oh great, but then he gives a diamond cutter to Scott Hall, and he rips the NWO shirt, but like, yeah, like, that was a great moment. The worst moment, I mean, it's either stuff like before the Attitude Era where the mummy ready to hump Hulk Hogan. That's pretty fucking bad. Or when there's a point where Vince Russo and his buddy were making fun of Jim Ross. Jim Ross was probably one of the most famous call guys in wrestling. Call the action in the ring in WWF. Especially during the Attitude Era. It was him and Jerry the Teen Lawler. Well, WCW, the thing with Jim Ross, he had Bell's palsy, which is a affliction. And the people at WCW made fun of that. Making fun of it. But I'm like, that was really fucking cheap and low, and that was uncalled for. So, like, shit like that was just ridiculous. And then, matches like Viagra on a pole match, where you get to a pole and get the Viagra, and you win. Again, sort of, because Vince Russo, as someone said it, he wanted to turn into the Jerry Springer show. That's really what it was. He thought, yeah, do it like the Jerry Springer show, during the last year or two of WCW. I mean, part of me wants to rewatch that to see just how crazy it got, but anyway. With that said, I don't know what else to say. Thanks for watching. Take care. In retrospect, I was sad that WCW went, because I do. If someone else bought it and put it on a different night so it wasn't head to head with someone else buy it. Don't put it head to fucking head with WWF. Bring it to, I don't know what channel, maybe Fox? I don't know. And be like, okay, we don't be on Tuesdays, or we don't be on Wednesdays, or we don't be whatever. And just worry about your wrestlers, worry about your stories, worry about what you do. And ease down on the Jerry Springer shit. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened. The fruition of maybe some of these wrestlers. Because pretty much all of them got shit on in WWF. I mean, even Steen. Steen comes in. He loses to Triple H in a shitty match. He loses another match, and then he gets his neck hurt. And then is out for a while. I know now he's in AEW, but it's like, they did jazz shit with Steen. DDP they did jazz shit with. Booker T, he should have beat Triple H, but he didn't. Which was ridiculous. They treated Booker T like shit, in my opinion. Booker T should have been the champion. Instead, they gave it to fucking, like, Kofi Kingston. Which, I'm sorry, the way they have Kofi, for the New Day, and here's some pancakes. Now we're supposed to take him serious as a wrestler, and then he just got beat, like, in 10 seconds by Brock Lesnar, and now he's a joke once again. Like, they don't know how to utilize a star, or make a star, or make someone a badass. It's beyond their fucking power, so. But yeah, I do miss WCW. I do, what the bits that I did see, I would go from WWF to WCW during the Monday Night Wars. I did miss them. I think that competition is actually helpful. I think at a point in time, it did bring out the best of them. Just mismanagement, letting the wrestlers do what the fuck they want, doing the Crash TV, Jerry Springer stuff, combination of bad decisions, and also that merger all hurt it. So, with that said, I still miss it though. Still miss it. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.